Hello everyone and welcome again to another Teacher Joseph podcast. Today we're going to talk about oral posture. Now I'm sure that you all know the meaning of the word posture because when we were children, teachers used to tell us, sit up straight. Or our parents used to tell us, sit up, your body is drooping. Meaning that your back was not straight. This was referring to your physical posture, the way in which you sit. Oral posture, on the other hand, is about how your mouth moves when you're speaking. I'm going to give some examples of this in an interview which the actor Robert Carlisle gave on a TV show. Now, Robert Carlisle is from Glasgow, or the Glasgow area at least, in Scotland. And the presenters of the show are actually from the south of England. And I want you to hear the difference of their oral postures. The woman in particular in this clip really opens her mouth up to let the words flow out. And this is what you should be aiming for, pulling the mouth down with every vowel sound. Now, pulling the mouth down with every vowel sound allows an open space for your words to flow. It also gives a perfect southern received pronunciation style of accents. Let me just give you an example of that. If I say American, I'm pulling my mouth up and down there a few times. If I say exactly, it's the same. My mouth is moving up and down. I call that vertical speaking because my mouth is moving vertically. In the clip that we're about to hear, you might pick up that Robert Carlisle is not speaking vertically. His mouth is moving only horizontally, giving his vowel sounds a much different ending. Let's listen to these three speakers. By the way, this is from the TV show in the UK, which is called This Morning. It's a daily magazine show where they do interviews. Let's have a listen.
You could say our next guest is a bit of a chameleon when it comes to film roles. He's been a Bond villain, a psychopath, and even a stripper of sorts.
And now Robert Carlisle has taken on the role of Prime Minister in his new action-packed political drama, Cobra. Just looking at that trailer there, this is dark, this is gritty, it's exciting. Cobra, we know what Cobra is, but nobody really knows what actually happens behind those closed doors. Yeah. Just explain a little bit about what we've just seen.
Cobra meetings are convened at times of kind of national emergency when terrible stuff is happening in the country. In this particular instance, we are affected by what's called extreme space weather in the shape of a solar storm. Right. Nuclear particles kind of emanate from the sun and they kind of hurtle towards the Earth and they affect satellite systems, air traffic, and the grid, national grid, electric. So everything goes kaput, plunges the country into darkness.
And the thing with this also is that you're the Prime Minister.
I am.
And we'll come to that in just a minute. But there is also, political shenanigans here. There's power play, isn't there?
Well, an interesting thing about this, of course, is it's something that that there's stuff.
Right, so that was Robert Carlisle, the Scottish actor, being interviewed by Philip Schofield. And one of Philip Schofield's co-presenters. Now, the female there was using a wonderful example of oral posture. Perhaps you can find this link on YouTube of Robert Carlisle on this program, which is called This Morning. Basically, her mouth is moving completely vertically when she's speaking. My mouth at the moment is also moving vertically. I'm allowing the air to flow out, and my vowel sounds are very clear. Robert Carlisle, being Scottish, has a strong Scottish accent. Now, if you can imagine a mouth that isn't opening very much, but is being pulled horizontally, long ways, and remaining very tight, you will get a perfect Scottish accent, or perhaps something which resembles even a South African accent, if you were to change the sounds just a little bit. But let's stay with the Scottish accent. Why is it that Scottish people in particular have very different oral posture? Some people would say that it's because of the story of the Scottish people. They endured great hardship and sadness throughout their history. I would not give it such a romantic reason. I would say more it's about how we manage our emotions, because Scottish people pull their mouth back and really grit their teeth together. So it's kind of an anger that you're hearing. It's a bit of a kind of edge. And this can be perceived very easily as aggression. Now, I'm not in any way saying that Robert Carlisle is being aggressive, but what I am saying is that the Scottish accent sounds aggressive. And that may be one of the reasons why there's a stereotype that if it isn't, let me just think what the proverb is. Yes, if there isn't a fight, then it's not a Scottish wedding, funeral, or bus stop. Scottish people are known for sounding a little bit aggressive. I don't think it's actually true. I think it is just the way they actually sound. But for English people, it can sound quite arbitrary. We don't know why exactly there are such different sounds around the UK, like in Birmingham or Liverpool or Scotland, but we do know that in the old days many Irish came to the UK to work. And when that happened, the impact of the Irish accent upon local dialect changed certain areas completely. Let me just give you one example. When I was a little boy, there was an area locally which was called the Long Bar. And I just always thought that the Long Bar was called the Long Bar because maybe there was a hand railing, you know, those banisters that you use to walk up steps with, that you hold on to. I just always assumed that maybe there was one of those, because we can call those bars also. Maybe there was a long iron bar which people used to hold on to as they walked up the hill. But as time went on and as I got older, I realized that there wasn't any iron bar there. So I just thought, well, it's called Long bar, so maybe that long iron bar was removed many years ago for some reason. Then I started to ask people, and nobody seemed to know. And then I thought, well, maybe there was a public bar, a bar with alcohol here called the Long Bar, maybe. Or maybe it was a pub with a very long counter. Maybe that's why it was called Long Bar. But again, there wasn't one. Nobody seemed to have any answers for me. So, of course, being the inquisitive boy that I was and still am, I started to look at the history of the place, and I discovered that it wasn't actually called the Long Bar in the 1920s when it was built. It was actually called the Lambert. The Lambert. Lambert is a very common word, which means land and bright. It had some German origin. Now it's used a lot, I think, in English, but it certainly has some kind of Germanic origin. So the area wasn't called the Long Bar, it was called the Lambert. By the time the Irish started coming, and they were already there in the 1920s, but when they arrived, of course, with a strong Irish accent from Northern Ireland, they called the area the Lombard. And you can hear there how lamb is changing into long. The Lombard. And eventually, over many years, I think by the time the 40s and 50s came, the place was generally known as the Lombard. And then, of course, the T started to vanish and it became known as the Long Bar. This just shows how language can change and also can have a major impact on your consciousness in the understanding of why a place might have a certain name. Anyway, I'm digressing. I want you to go back and listen to this clip or find it on YouTube. Robert Carlisle talking about his new movie on the TV show called This Morning. And you'll see that the woman especially is really pulling her chin down when she's talking. I really recommend that if you're looking to develop a perfect British accent, you start working with this idea of oral posture. And to get your sounds absolutely perfect, you really need to be pulling your mouth down. I recommend that you begin with a few stretching exercises every morning, or at least before you start talking English, to get your mouth moving. This is really, really important. All right then, that's all from me for today. I hope you've enjoyed this, and let's talk again soon. Goodbye.